Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is a weekend review for the week ending May 26th, 2023. Happy Memorial Day to everyone out there that knows someone that has passed. You know what you're supposed to do. A little moment of silence here. All right, we'll get started. So, thank you for tuning in. Nothing's really changed. We have broken the 6-bar inside week pattern bull and then put in another inside week. So this ranged market isn't changing, and prices approaching this gap fill up here at 422. Momentum is just gone nowhere, and there is no trend. Been stuck under 30 for a year, so this thing ain't going anywhere anytime soon. I think the end of the month here is coming up, so we'll take a look at the monthly chart, and whether or not she can get above the 20 is very important. Broke the previous month's low, so this is an outside month and closed above the previous month's high. That is the definition of buy the dip. So, yeah, not a lot to add, unfortunately. I'll throw the ball around the horn. Still look at the leaders that are continuing to go higher, while SPY does nothing. This is a close above the top of the Bollinger Band on the daily chart. This is a breakout. However, we are approaching supply. You've got some gaps up here, right? There's one. There's one. This is the sell target that I've been talking about, this 360 target that I called out, I don't know, right here. Even gave you an entry up here, and no one wanted either of them. I'm sure you guys want to own QQQ now, so I'm guessing she's close to a sell. Close above the top of the weekly Bollinger Band. ADX at 50, PPO at 3, histogram very positive. This is a breakout. Yeah, this is trend mode. This is a breakout. You've got to just ride this until the yellow and the orange line are above price. I mean, that's a pretty conservative way of looking at it. Or you can wait until this histogram gives you a negative reading, which will also be quite lagging. But you have to look at it kind of like this period here, where you had this angle of attack that persisted for a very long time. All right, and the whole goal of the market is to try to identify the trend and wait for mean reversion opportunities within the context of an uptrend, and learn to recognize the leaders within these, something like the NVIDIA, right? I mean, look at that weekly chart. This is an uptrend. That's a doji on earnings after gapping up a ton inside bar. Yeah, this is a breakout. No matter how you look at it, PPO is higher now than it ever was before, so this means we're still in wave 3. We're looking for the wave 3 top and a wave 4 pullback, and then one final wave 5 high somewhere up here, 450 to 550. Again, so you know, learn to identify the leaders, play the leaders, ride them until they end. Sell on the way up, sell into strength, and as you do that, look to add back as they come back down. You know, this one gave you pretty much 130 as a sell 2 times. And now here we are back down to $100. But again, identify the leaders, ride them, look to buy them as they revert to mean in an uptrend. All right, let's take a look at SMH. It's also leading, boom, led higher by none other than NVIDIA. No matter how you draw this measured target, we're basically going for all-time highs or a challenge here of 155 to 160. SMH continue by the dip, but you're getting the blow-off phase, okay? We're approaching the blow-off top phase of this cycle before we will ultimately pull back. And if we take a look at this guy, here's a clear wave 1, wave 2. It's wave 3, wave 4. No overlap, and we're coming in on wave 5. So it's either up here, right, or over here. We'll have to see. Hard to tell at this point. And it's subjective, so it doesn't really matter. But the point is, we've seen 3 thrusts higher. This was the first thrust, this was our second thrust, and now we're on to the 3rd thrust, okay? And I don't care how you label it. You know, maybe it's just some big corrective pattern. I don't really care. The reality is the same. You go up, you pull back in some ABC corrective structure. You go up, you pull back in some ABC corrective structure, and you go up, and you pull back. And after about 3 of these, you tend to get a change in the structure. So now you'll start to pull back with ABC up. And then you'll get something like this again. Okay? And that's how the market works. It just whips everyone in and out. And by the time it's time to buy, you don't want to. Right? This here was a good buy. So all the way back here in July, all the way back here in October, all the way back here in December. No one wanted any of those entries. Everyone was extremely bearish in June. I mean, basically a fever pitch, little relief rally to reset optimism, etc. And then boom, I mean, October was just the gutter. So, and we'll take a look here at what's really going on. And I mean, kind of wrap up this video because there isn't a lot to talk about. I do think the NVIDIA run is done for now. I think she's going to consolidate in time. And NVIDIA leads SMH and QQQ. And if you're looking at IWM, I think this is toast. Just absolutely toast. So it's either going to get off, it's either going to shit or get off the pot, is the expression. So this is either going to be resistance, and this is the last time we're touching this as we head a lot lower, or this accumulation is about done. And this higher low pattern that has held the whole time, that has escaped this downtrend, right? That is put in this pattern, has finished, right? And technically, this triangle has finished. There's no reason to say that this E wave isn't a regular flat. Let's clean up this just so you can look at that, and we can zoom into this structure. But right here, we come up, we come down, we go up. That's a corrective ABC pattern, and she broke the high back here and instantly found sellers, okay? And if you look at the range, it's narrowing, okay? You would expect the E wave to be the shortest of the triangle, okay? But the triangle is complete. Don't be confused. Okay, so we've got this triangle complete, and triangles can go either direction. They don't have to break bear. They don't have to break bull. Just because we're in a downtrend doesn't mean this has to go lower, okay? But the one way I'm counting this, just subjectively, something like that, something like that, something like this. There's many five-wave scenarios that could be in play. The reality is this is the weakest, absolutely the weakest sector, and has been an avoid for basically a year. Every rally has been sold, and even the leader like Crocs, which has done very, very well since bottoming back here in January. Just to show you the comparison again. See, Crocs is basically doing the same thing. Bottomed back here in May of 2022, put in a lasting bottom, right? And what was happening over here? IWM put in a low and then another low, and Crocs put in a higher low. Okay, so just pointing out that we're looking for Crocs and IWM to clues as to whether or not there's a rotation taking place or a flight to safety. This is the question that we're going to figure out. And let's just, before we dig too deep into more charts, let's look at the intermarket analysis pair charts. So this is looking at SPY versus gold, which is going to tell us that we still are stuck in a range. I'd say, you know, if you're looking at this and being objective, after the invasion or the start of the war, gold had basically lost its edge. So no real flight to safety into gold. In fact, there's a flight to equities since the March bottom out of gold. I'm looking at SPY versus bonds. This is the easiest trend to read since the 2020 lows. It's equities all day. And since October, the flight to cash has disappeared. Cash is trash, right? They'll give you 5% to hold your money in the bank, but NVIDIA will give you 300%, right? So, I mean, it's just one of those things where the crowd finds cash at the worst time. This was the go to cash signal back here, January 2022. Okay, go to cash. And you had a chance to re-up in cash in March of 2022. Same thing here, recapture of the 50, recapture. These were all December, get out of cash. March, get out of cash. Okay, that's what this is telling me. So right now, it's telling me equities are still the place to be. And if we go look at within equities, is it IWM or is it QQQ? Okay, and IWM has just been getting destroyed, absolutely destroyed. And this has to be the end. This is another 5-wave move lower, a new low in this ratio. Doesn't have to be the end. Let me rephrase that. Does not have to be the end. But if it is the end, we will see rotation. Okay? And if it's flight to safety, we'll see flight to cash, flight to gold, right? We'll see cash, gold, or bonds outperform equities. But right now, we're not seeing that. Right now, we're seeing QQQ outperform IWM, SMH outperform IWM, and the transports, Dow Jones transports, literally just sit at the 200 and the 50. I mean, this is the definition of no trend. I mean, ADX is at 0, PPO is at 0, histogram is at 0. There's nothing happening here. There's a big move that is coming, though. Okay, and the point of all of this is, of this whole weekend review, right, is the NVIDIA trade ends. Are they going to take their money out of semis and put it into cash, put it into bonds, put it into gold? Or are they going to rotate their money out of semis into the beaten up small caps, into the beaten up transports? And this is where, you know, the research time that you do, your due diligence comes into play, the market scans, etc. So if price can get above 183 on IWM, 180, 183 with conviction, this thing can run all the way to 192. The reality, though, is the real big breakout, and maybe it's down here, right? Maybe it's up here. It's obviously above 200, okay? Get out of this range, and you've got yourself a breakout, just like you had in QQQ. So, are we going to get rotation? And if we do, things like Crocs should lead. And I'm telling you right now, Crocs should not go below $100, $97, $98, whatever we want to call it. It shouldn't go below this little confluence here. The 80 and the 50 weekly moving average should not go and stay below that, and should certainly not close the month below $100. There's a very low probability that Crocs closes below 100. And again, we got a nice little clean 5-wave move here that just completed. Looking for wave 2 that that we saw here. This zigzag. Looking for this to end at a rising 50, and then we're looking for IWM to take over leadership again. That is one scenario, and that's why I added Crocs on Friday. On Thursday and Friday, I doubled down here into this position, into the 200. Right around 104. And a couple other names like DraftKings. Is DraftKings going to get some love? Is Penn going to get some love? These names used to be leaders within IWM. Okay, this looks like a broadening pattern has just completed, and now we got to go all the way back up here again. Okay, which represents a double. And you look at other sectors like ARK. Can ARK get above the 50? No. But she's still above the 20. So there's a breakout coming. There's a pinch coming. These bands are narrowing. And when this happens, volatility narrows and a pinch happens, which is really a squeeze. That's what we like to call it. I mean, ARK, here you go. Another setup, right? And the leaders within ARK are CRISPR and SHOP. And look at them. They're breaking out. There's nothing wrong with these charts. All right. So from where I sit, it looks like there will be rotation taking place out of NVIDIA, out of semis, out of the Qs. Let this thing rotate back lower. Again, let buy the dip come back in, hit 360, and then buy the dip down, zigzag down, right? Just so that people can see. Major trend is up. Corrective pattern down. Major trend up. Corrective pattern down. You see the pattern here. This is what we look for, okay? We see them everywhere. And it tells you the direction of the trend. This is what we're trying to find. Trying to figure out, are we going to get rotation? And when I look at gold, I see gold rolling over. Okay, now it's at the 20. We've got overlap on the weekly, and PPO bear cross histogram's negative. Not a good look. I called out the sell here back May 1 as Peter Schiff and everyone on FinTwit was calling for the breakout. We didn't even have a higher high yet relative to March of 2020, yet everyone was calling for a breakout to all-time highs. So I'm just not buying the gold story. TLT, maybe she's range bound, but got back up to the zero line and then signaled the sell. This is a momentum sell signal in histogram and in PPO. This thing is rolling over again. It is not for me. It is not ready, right? UUP running right into this downtrend in the 50. This does look ready. The dollar is rallying back and captured the 200, okay? So the dollar does look fine for now. 5-wave move down, ABC up. So I look for this to end up here because this is where the range has been. I don't see the dollar getting much above 28.67 UUP. So yeah, that pretty much covers it up. And I will do a separate video reviewing the NVIDIA trade. But this concludes the weekend review for the week ending May 26, 2023. Happy Memorial Day, and I'll see you next week.